The original 1977 Star Wars is iconic and changed the landscape of cinema forever, but the journey of its script was long and difficult. Here's an insight into the early drafts of George Lucas's magnum opus.
Initiate sequence. Retrotron Entertainment presents
That 70s Nerd. The Journal of the Whills. Long before A New Hope was born, there was The Journal of the Whills. This 1973 draft was one of the earliest concepts Lucas had for the saga. It introduced a character named Mace Windu and was told from the perspective of the Whills, a mysterious group of beings that would have been featured in episodes 7 through 9 if Lucasfilm had not been sold to Disney. But the Whills did influence certain parts of the Star Wars canon. The Star Wars. By May 1974, Lucas penned a rough draft titled The Star Wars. This version was by far the closest in tone to Flash Gordon and E.E. Doc Smith's Lensman stories, two key influences. The forces dealt with matter-of-factly, and there is little in the way of fantasy elements. Some key differences. Anakin Starkiller. The prototype for Luke Skywalker, Anakin Starkiller loses his father, a Jedi who is now more machine than man, and sets out to rescue Princess Leia from the clutches of the Empire before going on to destroy one of two Death Stars. Luke Skywalker. In this version, Luke is much like Qui-Gon Jinn, a middle-aged Jedi with a rebellious streak who takes a hot-headed young apprentice under his wing. The Sith. Unlike the clandestine Sith of the final version, these were public figures, and Darth Vader was merely a general. Han Solo. Han Solo was a 6-foot green-skinned lizard in this version. Other characters. Many characters in this draft, such as Prince Valorum and Kane Starkiller, played significant roles but did not make it to the final version. This was the opening crawl. Until the recent Great Rebellion, the Jedi Bendu were the most feared warriors in the universe. For 100,000 years, generations of Jedi perfected their art as the personal bodyguards of the Emperor. They were the chief architects of the invincible Imperial Space Force, which expanded the Empire across the galaxy, from the celestial equator to the farthest reaches of the Great Rift. Now these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one they have been hunted down and destroyed as enemies of the new Empire by a ferocious and sinister rival warrior sect, the Knights of Sith. Lucas produced another version of this screenplay with only the names of the characters changed, before moving on to a radically different version. Adventures of Starkiller, Saga 1, The Star Wars. By 1975, The Star Wars had evolved into The Adventures of Starkiller. This was by far the most mythological version of Star Wars ever written. It featured the mystical Kyber crystal, which amplified the power of the Force, Sith magicians, a 1,000-year-old Jedi called the Skywalker, who had founded both the Jedi Order and the Republic, as well as a prophecy of a chosen one called the Son of Suns. The influence of J.R.R. Tolkien is strongly felt in this draft. Key differences. The Jedi were briefly named Dainoga. That was changed back to Jedi Bendu until finally being abbreviated to Jedi. Go figure. Character evolution. Anakin was now Luke Starkiller, a character more in line with the Luke Skywalker we know. He is on a quest to rescue his brother Deke, not Princess Leia. Biggs Darklighter appears for the first time. The Force. This draft began to elaborate on the concept of the Force, including the dark side for the first time. The light side is called Ashla, the dark side is called Bogan. These were later used in the comic book series Dawn of the Jedi, as well as the animated series Rebels. Plot. A lone Death Star makes its first appearance, finally becoming a pivotal part of the story. This was the opening crawl. The Republic Galactica is dead. Ruthless traitor barons, driven by greed and the lust for power, have replaced enlightenment with oppression, and rule by the people with the First Galactic Empire. Until the tragic Holy Rebellion of 06, the respected Jedi Bendu of Ashla were the most powerful warriors in the universe. For 100,000 years, generations of Jedi Bendu Knights learned the ways of the mysterious Force of others, and acted as the guardians of peace and justice in the Republic. Now, these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one, they have been hunted down and destroyed by a ferocious rival sect of mercenary warriors, the Black Knights of the Sith. It is a period of civil wars. The Empire is crumbling into lawless barbarism throughout the million worlds of the galaxy, from the celestial equator to the farthest reaches of the Great Rift. 70 small solar systems have united in a common war against the tyranny of the Empire. Under the command of a mighty Jedi warrior known as the Starkiller, the Rebel Alliance has won a crushing victory over the deadly Imperial Starfleet. The Empire knows that one more such defeat will bring 1,000 more solar systems into the rebellion, and Imperial control of the Outlands could be lost forever. The Final Revision and A New Hope. By early 1976, the script was undergoing its third draft, which was much closer to the film we know and love. In the interim, Lucas adopted and discarded elements at an amazing speed. He considered making Luke a girl, everyone on Tatooine, little people like hobbits, and having the entire movie rewritten in Japanese and casting an entirely Japanese cast. But the story truly started to take shape. The name Starkiller changed to Skywalker, finalizing the transformation of the central character, Han Solo. Initially envisioned as a green-skinned alien with gills, then a flamboyant character part Harry Mudd from Star Trek, and partly based on Francis Ford Coppola, he finally morphed into the charming rogue played by Harrison Ford. Leia's role. Princess Leia's role grew more substantial, from teenage princess to grown-up senator, solidifying her position as a key protagonist. The fourth and final draft was titled Star Wars: From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. This was the script that went into production and was released in 1977 as Star Wars. There were still differences. Lucas reintroduced the Kyber Crystal. Ben Kenobi waged mental battle with a room full of Sith undergoing psychic conditioning. The trash compactor scene featured a huge battle with a tentacled monster, and Obi-Wan Kenobi slaughtered dozens of stormtroopers single-handed. This was the opening crawl. The Republic Galactica is dead. Ruthless traitor barons driven by greed and lust for power have replaced enlightenment with oppression and rule by the people with the First Galactic Empire. For over 1,000 years, generations of Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. Now, these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one, they have been hunted down and destroyed by the sinister agents of the Emperor, the Dark Lords of Sith. It is a period of civil wars. Rebel armies striking from fortresses hidden deep within the Great Rift have won a crushing victory over the powerful Imperial Starfleet. The Emperor knows that one by one, such defeats will bring 1,000 more systems into the rebellion, and Imperial control of the Outland systems could be lost forever. To crush the rebellion once and for all, the Emperor has sent one of his most ferocious Dark Lords to find the secret rebel strongholds and destroy them. Conclusion. The journey from the Journal of the Whills to A New Hope illustrates the evolving creative process of George Lucas. It showcases how stories can morph, change, and grow richer over time. Many elements from these drafts would become a part of later Star Wars movies, the Clone Wars television series, and find their way into Star Wars novels, comic books, games, and merchandise. While the early drafts of Star Wars were different from the final product, they sowed the seeds for a universe that would captivate audiences for generations. That's all for now.
Be groovy. Comment, like, share, subscribe.